This makes us look more affluent.
I was going to say more affluent. It's like
A critique I got in our last one was that the water bottle I used made us look poor. Yeah, we can introduce everyone. Okay, so this is the Bose Bros podcast. I'm Mason Bose.
I'm Jordan Bose.
I'm Logan Bose.
your Bose.
All right, and we're going to start with the news. Jordan, tell us.
So the problem that Hyundai and Kia are having is that their vehicles are getting stolen, like a lot. And you might think, okay, what's a lot? Twice as often as every other car? That'd be a lot. Well, for example, Milwaukee, the police department in Milwaukee released a statement at the end of last year saying that between 2019 and 2021, auto thefts went up over 200%. And the percentage of cars that were Hyundai or Kia being stolen went from 6% to 67% of the total number of cars being stolen.
Over a year?
From 2019 to 2021.
So over 2 years.
Over 2 years, it went from 6% to 67%.
So it wasn't a new vulnerability. It was visibility to an existing vulnerability. Precisely. So what brought visibility to that particular vulnerability?
So you're actually going to have a harder time finding how to do this, how to take advantage of this vulnerability by Googling it than you will by going on social media, because it takes almost no time to figure out how to steal a Kia if you're a teenager on social media.
Right. It was a viral sensation.
Yeah, they would call themselves like the Kia something culprits. I don't know.
Kia boys. It's the Kia boys.
Yeah, our resident Gen Zer. The issue they were having is that if you take apart the dashboard, there's a little nubbin on the lock cylinder.
Is that the official term?
It's a nubbin, a nub maybe is what they'll call it. Basically, it's a little piece of metal on the lock cylinder that if you provide 12 volts of charge to, you can force the lock cylinder with like a screwdriver or something, and it will start. Now, it happens to be also that little metal piece is exactly the size of the inside of a USB-A port.
So all they need is to bridge a 12-volt connection, right?
To a USB-A cable.
Okay.
Any cable. And then you can force the lock cylinder and it'll start. So the reason you need that is because somehow or another this bypasses the immobilizer that, or the style of immobilizer that Kia was using from 2011 till now. Now you have all these hoodlums going around stealing cars. But the crazy part is that they're not doing anything with them. They're not bringing them to chop shops. They're not making any money. They just record themselves committing a crime and then abandon the car once they've gotten their likes. So they find these Hyundais and Kias all over the place in major American cities, just left abandoned with the dashboard ripped out and the driver's side glass, or not the dashboard, the steering column ripped apart and the driver's side glass broken. So now people are getting their cars back and they have to wait months at the dealership because they can't ship over enough parts of the same part over and over again to fix all these cars. Because then as soon as they get back on the road again, they're just stolen again. Yeah.
I think for Hyundai they had an update because it happened in Dallin. His Elantra got broken into, but someone caught them before they were able to steal it.
Is there a software update they could do, or does it have to be a hardware?
I don't know. They're trying to make it seem like, oh, we'll just give you all a software update and it should be fine. But from what I can tell, there's not a lot of confidence in that.
Okay.
So, as a Kia owner, this has become a problem.
Well, your car hasn't been stolen.
No.
So this doesn't affect you then, right? Or how does this affect you?
That is completely incorrect. We got a phone call from our insurance company we've had for like 3 years. And they said, hey, by the way, we just wanted to make sure that you already know, because of course you already know, that we're dropping you in 3 days. And we're like, can we ask why? We've had no major accidents. We have filed a claim for broken glass. Like I don't know what the problem is. And she says, well, let me talk to my manager. I don't know what doesn't say. She gets back and she's like, oh, it's because you own a Kia. And I was like, what?
Like haters?
I'm like, what's the problem? And she's like, well, they're at high risk for being stolen. I'm like, it's a minivan.
It's a factor of how valuable the car is and what they can do with it and how easy it is to steal.
Right.
But I have a Hyundai, but it's a 2009, so I'm safe. Fine. All good.
You're in the pre-hoodlum era.
Right.
So how do you prevent this if you're a Hyundai or Kia owner?
First, if you are worried that you're going to be dropped by an insurance company, call them because they might just drop you and not tell you until a couple of days before.
Well, how do you prevent your car from getting stolen?
Well, you can use one of those steering wheel locks and you might slow them down just a little bit. maybe deleting TikTok off your kid's phone would help. But people will also use, in order to get my car insured again, I need to show them that I had either the push-button start model, which is apparently not vulnerable to this, because there's no lock cylinder to turn.
Okay.
So you think.
Yeah, so far. Or you need to take a picture of the inside of your car with the steering wheel lock on the car. This is what our insurance guy told us we had to do in order to get any kind of insurance. Not leaving out the fact that it costs more than double what it did before this to get it insured. So
That sucks.
It's a whole problem.
Okay.
Is there a settlement?
There is a settlement, actually.
So that's what's making the news this week, right?
Yeah. A wholly unproductive settlement, I'll say.
How so?
If your car was actually stolen, you are eligible for up to, I think, $6,300.
If your car was stolen?
If your car was stolen.
Whether or not you got it, like if you got it back, you still get money?
Whether or not you got it back. If your car was stolen and you got it back, they're saying up to. So if, let's say, you had to get a rental car and you had to fill that rental car with gas and maybe you had to pay an extra day's fee or whatever. You have to
then go prove all
exactly.
of that.
You have to provide receipts for every single thing you spent and an explanation of why you needed to spend that money. And then and then you can get reimbursed all the way up to like $6,300. If your car was not stolen but was damaged in a way that made it like that's what they were trying to do, but they never successfully stole it, which I guess has been an issue, you're eligible to up to half of that. So they broke your window, and this is to also cover insurance premium or insurance deductibles and stuff like that. So, which is fairly easy to prove. But if you're like, you couldn't go to work that day, how do you show that you didn't go to work that day on your paycheck and then have them reimburse you for that day's worth of work?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like, sure, they're reimbursing people in the most inconvenient way possible. But on the flip side, if they were to just send every Hyundai and Kia owner money, everybody would get like $6.
Yeah.
So I think this is a better way of doing it.
Yep.
But
so Hyundais and Kias aren't the only cars being stolen, right, Logan? We have.
So, here, you gotta watch the video. All right, watch this. All right, so I put a video in the PowerPoint. Jordan, Kira, just watch it. Let me just preface it. Okay, let me explain. I'll give you a sentence. It won't make any sense, but then you watch the video and it's awesome. All right, there's a neighborhood. There's a Rolls-Royce like Cullinan, I think. This guy turns himself into an antenna to steal it. Okay, so then just watch it.
is somebody already in there?
Yeah, there's already one person in there.
That's wild that works.
You haven't seen that before?
I have seen it before. I've heard
This
it.
exact one, or
Yeah, I've seen this exact video, but it's wild to me that even works.
Okay, so
tell us
explain how it works.
what happened there.
All right, so a little bit of background. So by trade, I'm a network RF integration engineer. It's my day job. So this is familiar to what I do, although I'm more on the networking side, not on the RF side. All right, so basically there's a protocol, right? So it's called the remote key ignition system and the remote key entry system. I believe that's what it stands for. It might be something slightly different. But basically, it's a protocol. So what's happening is you have a low power device. That's the key fob. And all it's doing is listening, right? And you have a high power device. That's the car. So the car has a car battery. And the car is sending out these pings, basically saying, hey, is my key here? Like, hey, is my key here? Hey, is my key here? And if the key is out of range, right, then obviously it won't be able to respond to that. In theory, once you walk up, the key comes in range, and then the car receives a reply from the key that says, yes, it's me, I'm your key, here is my identifier that I am the key for this specific car, right? Well, what this guy's doing is normally this is a two-man attack. So if you go to the next slide, it kind of shows like it illustrated as a two-man attack. But you can do this with one person. In the very beginning of the video, you'll notice he's backing up towards the key. right? So he's backing up towards the front door of the house because what he's doing is he's trying to.
This person probably has their keys on a hook near the door.
Exactly. So, like everybody. So what they're doing is so that little thing that he's holding, that kind of modified loop antenna. So the way an antenna works is it doesn't actually add any power to your RF signal. So there's a few things you have to think about when you think of radio frequency. So there's frequency, there's power, right? Sometimes like people talk about amplitude, and then there is like the actual antenna that you're using. So what an antenna does is it doesn't actually add any power. That's what an amplifier does. But think of it more as like an antenna is like eyeglasses for an RF signal. Because remember, RF signals are light. They're just light that we can't see. So what an antenna does is it kind of brings the RF signal into focus, and it can directionalize the propagation of that signal. You see what I mean? So by holding up this antenna, right, he kind of brings that RF signal that's omnidirectional coming from the car into focus towards the key. And then the key has now been signaled to start sending pings back to the car. So what does he do? Is he starts walking back towards the car, and now he's focusing it the other way. So now he's getting signal from the key, and it's going through his antenna that he's holding up, and then it goes to the car. This Rolls-Royce happens to have both of these protocols. So it happens to have remote key, like a remote key entry and remote key ignition. So when you walk up to it, not only does it unlock and open the doors, but it starts, and it thinks that the key is there, and it'll stay started until it runs out of gas. So it's not like you have to go grab the key, or if you drive away, it's going to think that the key is gone, because remember, it thinks that the key is there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if this protocol is encrypted, because all you're doing is forwarding the signal. You're just repropagating it. You're just extending the range of it. And now you're making the key initially think that it's in range of the car, and then get it to start sending signals back to the car, and then you make the car think that the key is close to it. And now the car thinks the key is there, it starts the car, you're all good until you shut the car off. What happens is you bring the car to a chop shop and you just reprint the key, and then it's on its way to like an African warlord somewhere in like Somalia. And so that's like super, super, super common. And this actually affects any vehicle with RKIS or RKES, right? Remote key ignition, remote key entry. So pretty much.
So my Kia isn't safe.
No, it's not. No, it doesn't matter. No, the best thing you can do is get one of those wheel locks.
This is where you being having a minivan is actually helpful, because every car has a push button start and a remote key. So they're not going to target your car specifically for that specific vulnerability.
Right. Yeah.
They are going to target Rolls-Royce Cullinan, a almost $500,000 SUV.
What I'm wondering is, do you think these guys like on the street have any idea how it, like you just went through a fairly detailed explanation on how all of this works, or do you think that they were just told by somebody, hey, this should work, and then here's a wire, go stand out there and make it happen?
100%.
So the thing is, like, I'm not a cop, right? But you got to remember, like, most of these people are like if there's money to be made, there's intelligent people working on it. You know what I mean? So like the guy who steals the car, he might not be high up the chain, but like, you know, there aren't stupid people. There are manufacturers. There's this great Vice article about a guy who used to boost cars, but he ended up just going to school for computer science, and now he just sells tools to boost cars, and he makes way more money. And he takes none of the risk. They're called relay attacks. They've actually been around for a while. Some of the earlier articles I was able to find were from like 2009.
So how do you protect your car if you do have remote start?
You don't. So you protect the key. So you protect the key. So what you do is you put the key in a Faraday bag, right? And what a Faraday bag does is it's like a Faraday cage, and it just prevents the propagation of radio frequencies within that space. So you can buy it on Amazon and just stick your key fob in a Faraday bag. But remember, that doesn't always protect you, though, because let's say, for example, you drive a Rolls-Royce Cullinan and you park it in a parking garage, and then you like lock it and start walking away. You know, if I'm an enterprising young man looking to score a Rolls-Royce, I'll just follow behind you, skim your key, and repropagate it back to the car, start the car, drive off as soon as you walk away.
Is that what that something Dolphin Zero?
Flipper Zero. You're thinking of something called Flipper Zero.
Yeah.
So what a Flipper Zero is basically a platform, and you can modify it and attach all sorts of tools to it. One of the things that it can do is, you can plug in something like what's called a spectrum analyzer, which all it does is measure the, spectrum around you, right? Now, usually that means plugging in an RF cable, right? But there's all sorts of tools that you can, attach to something like a Flipper Zero or even a Raspberry Pi or whatever you want. You can buy like commercial off-the-shelf protocol analyzers and like stuff to measure, RF. Like, it's not complicated. So some brands have tried to change the frequency at which they propagate the signal without actually changing the protocol. It doesn't matter because it just gets, the criminal just updates it.
They'll just know. By the end of the week, they'll know.
Instead of being at 315 megahertz, we're going to be at 22 to 40 megahertz. So that's I think that's what Mercedes-Benz tried to do. Yeah. But it doesn't matter. So what you should do, if you really want to protect your vehicle, is A, get really good insurance. B, put your keys in a Faraday bag. And then if you're a woman, a lot of purses can be Faraday bags, as long as they're closed. So you put your key fob in the purse, close it, bam, Faraday bag. For men, you could always adopt the satchel. You could be fashion forward like myself.
You should make a product, Faraday Fanny.
Is it a Faraday Future?
Yeah, the Faraday Fanny. Now on sale in the UK. Yeah.
You'll be selling it to tens of people.
Alternatively, you can get a car that's so old, it just doesn't have that.
Get a car that's so old it just won't start.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, a lot of people, they don't even want to steal your car. They just want to steal the contents of what's inside your car. So, if you go into a coffee shop, someone's going to follow you in the coffee shop, repropagate the signal back to your car outside, and just steal everything inside. This happens to door dashers all the time because they park right outside the restaurant.
Yeah, and they usually leave their cars unlocked because they're in and out really fast.
Even if they don't leave it unlocked, even if they lock it, doesn't matter. So, it's called a relay attack. But that's
any other consumer advice?
Don't live in San Francisco.
Yeah, try to avoid high crime areas.
Or states.
Well, I've got my segment. So, keeping with the theme of security, this last Thursday, the United States has opened up an investigation into Chinese automakers specifically. They want to learn more about the vehicles and what information they gather and what of that is shared back with China. Not only what information is shared, but what kind of autonomous control other entities could have influence over that car, like what the car's able to do. You have a Tesla. You can do all kinds of things. The car's sitting right out front, I assume. Mm-hmm. You can pull out your phone. You can do all kinds of things from in here.
Yeah.
Mistake.
Theoretically, Chinese automobiles on U.S. streets, the U.S. government is very interested in knowing what kind of information those cars gather because they're rolling smartphones now. They connect to the internet. They have all your personal information. And what kind of control and influence external parties could have over those vehicles. So President Biden said Thursday, vehicles, is a quote, vehicles from China could collect sensitive data about our citizens and our infrastructure and send this data back to the People's Republic of China. That was President Biden this last Thursday when they opened up this investigation. Now,
isn't he supposed to say the ironically named People's Republic?
Yeah, the CCP. It's important to note Chinese cars aren't really sold in the U.S. right now. There isn't a ban on them. It just doesn't make a lot of market sense for them to sell them here. There's, I believe, a 25% tariff on Chinese automobiles coming here. So to even try to compete in the U.S. market, they're taking a 25% hit just to be here. And that doesn't include all of the money that goes into redeveloping vehicles for the U.S. market. They drive on the same side of the road as us, but there's still different safety regulations, different EPA regulations, environmental regulations they have to adhere to, pedestrians. And culturally, they may produce vehicles in China that make sense there that just don't make sense here. I mean, there's cars that are made all around the world that aren't sold here and vice versa. For example, Japan makes the Tundra. Toyota makes the Tundra. They're based in Japan. I don't believe they sell the Tundra in Japan because that car just doesn't make sense
It's
there.
the size of a city block.
Exactly. So there's a lot of reasons why they're not selling their vehicles here. I imagine they would probably like to pursue that at some point. So in anticipation of that, the U.S. is very interested in learning more about what these vehicles can do and what information they gather and how it's sent back to other parties.
You would think if we're interested in that sort of thing, the ban on TikTok would finally go through.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up next. So you may remember the phone company Huawei from a couple years ago. They were banned. That was an executive order by President Trump in 2019 because there was reason to believe that the Chinese government could access personal information from what was stored on those phones. And TikTok, again, strong evidence to suggest that there's a great deal of influence and possible information gathering on behalf of the Chinese government through that application. So at least I know for government employees, I know this firsthand, they're not supposed to have TikTok on their devices, at least on government-issued devices. I don't know about their own personal devices.
Huawei also built networking hardware for 5G towers and then would sell them at essentially like really, really, really inexpensive to companies that were contracted with DoD for upgrading 5G towers near U.S. bases. So all of these 5G towers were put in for less money because Huawei was selling them their hardware for next to nothing, except they all have these back doors and they're basically recording anytime certain networks are used or how often they're used or in response to what international thing, what bases are lighting up with traffic. And
so for their part, the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning said the order, and I quote, overstretches the concept of national security and are discriminatory practices clearly targeted at certain countries. Well, they're definitely right about that. I think in the investigation, they're calling for an investigation of automobiles produced in countries of concern. I believe that's the exact language. Now, we all know they're talking about China specifically.
I thought they were talking about Mongolian cars.
Yeah, so they're talking, and it's these electric cars specifically, these EVs that have so much autonomous control that are of particular interest. Not just for the information they gather, but theoretically, the throttle, the ignition, I know there's not really an ignition, but to start and stop the car, the steering, everything is, the infrastructure is in place for that to be controlled remotely. Chinese government is essentially saying we're overreacting. So Logan, you're a cybersecurity expert. This is like directly up your alley. Do you think this is like a legitimate thing to be worried about in doing this investigation, or do you think that... Yeah. Okay. That's a rhetorical question. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know television. No. So here's the thing: the United States has like 30 plus intelligence agencies. The only things that you wouldn't think are intelligence agencies are the Department of Energy, for example, is an intelligence agency. Each branch of the U.S. military has its own intelligence activity. Then you have the major players, right? The Defense Intelligence Agency, the Central Intelligence Agency, the National Security Administration, like all sorts of stuff, right? Or National Security Agency, whatever it stands for. Look, here's the thing. An investigation like this is less an investigation in the sense that it's like a gumshoe cop going out there collecting evidence and interrogating, BYD cars. It more is into a public statement that Americans should be concerned.
Yeah.
That the president already knows what he knows via the intelligence apparatus that's available to him, which is the most sophisticated intelligence apparatus that's ever existed in the history of anything ever, right? And so he knows what these vehicles are capable of. Here's the thing. If he outright bans them, he has to say why, right? And because he's accountable to the American people. And he doesn't want to do that, because if he tells the American people why they're being banned, who else does he tell? He tells the Chinese government. And then that may give them an inclination as to what our capabilities are and our ability to collect information on them.
You don't want to accidentally give away means and motives, or means and personnel.
An important thing to think about, people talk about secret and top secret. The public, kind of delineation between the two is that we classify things as secret that we know about our enemies, and we classify things as top secret about what we know about what we are capable of, right? Because obviously our capabilities can have a much greater impact on national security than what we know about our adversaries, right?
Right.
So if we straight up ban these Chinese vehicles, we may have to give away some of how we collected this information and what we know they're capable of. And we don't want to do that because we want to continue to be able to collect information in that manner. See what I mean? So we don't want that well to run dry. So instead, what we'll do is we will, quote unquote, open an investigation into why these things are a matter of concern and engage in this sort of like political theater. But really, if they're opening a public investigation and the president is talking about it, like, you should be very concerned about it.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
They already have something they're concerned about. Yeah.
Dude, of course. 1,000%. You guys probably own smart TVs, right? Yeah, you own a TV connected to Alexa, right?
Yep.
I would assume. Like, congratulations, CCP has your information anyway. So, you don't need to drive their car.
Yeah.
That's why TVs are so cheap. A lot of people think that like LCD screens got cheaper. That's not true. The reason why TVs are so cheap is because the profit-driving model of a television now is not to sell you the product for more than it costs to make. They sell TVs at a loss, but they make that money back up by skimming data from you and selling it to data miners and data brokers. So your TVs are like the worst offenders ever. They skim an ungodly amount of data from you.
Jeez.
And especially if it's part of the Internet of Things. Think about it. The TV is an organism, or is an organ of a larger body that is everything connected to your Wi-Fi network. So it's not just the data that goes to your TV, like your watch time and when you're watching and like how often you watch Love is Blind, but if any other device is connected to your Wi-Fi, the TV is the weakest link. And
Yeah.
you're selling that information. It's giving it away. So your phone's connected, your laptop's connected, everything's connected, right? So this is the problem with the Internet of Things. Like, I'll give you an example. I'm a network engineer with 9 years of experience. I just got Wi-Fi in my home because my wife insisted that we get Wi-Fi. Like, our last 4 homes, we didn't have Wi-Fi. I would only connect to cellular and use hotspots.
When you said that, Joe Biden already knows before he says anything that there's something to be concerned about,
Podcast.
I would say, don't you think that it's the Homeland Security Secretary would know?
Well, if it's gotten all the way up to the level of Joe Biden, then it's been known about for some time.
The thing to remember about the intelligence community is most of them are based in Northern Virginia and Washington, D.C., and literally the smartest people on planet Earth live there, and they make exorbitant amounts of money to collect intelligence on all sorts of things. They're recruited in all sorts of spectacular and special ways, and they know what they're doing for sure.
Yeah.
So when it comes to things like this, the capabilities of American adversaries and how they try to get one over on us through commercial products, they're keenly aware of that.
So for sure, man.
The president gets an intelligence briefing every single morning. And so no, it would not be the Secretary of Homeland Security. It would be something called the ODNI, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence.
Okay, so he knows.
And that's the big dog. That's master spy.
You can tell he's a master spy because he's not well known. Because you don't know his name off the top of your head.
Exactly. No one's ever heard of the ODNI, but that's the man right there.
To boil it down, what you're saying is by the time we hear about it, it's a much bigger deal than...
Dude, I don't own a TV.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
All right, on to a lighter segment. Let's talk about obscure cars.
Hell yeah.
So this is actually one of my personal favorites. This beautiful angular schlab.
I actually really like this car. This is a guilty pleasure car for me.
Exactly. It's exactly what it is. So this is, for those that don't know, this is the Cadillac XLR. For better or worse, it's known as the Cadillac Corvette.
Because other than the body and the folding roof.
And the drivetrain, which is a big part of why it doesn't exist anymore. It's actually based on the Cadillac Evoque concept from the 1999 Detroit Auto Show. If you look at that concept, that does not look like a car that belongs in a 99 auto show. It looks beautiful. It looks like a car made in the last 5 years, not a car made 25 years ago. It's beautiful. It looks very similar to this. So that's what it was based off of, was that concept. The XLR was produced from 2003 to 2009. And they sold about 15,400 units across that single generation 6-year span. Here's where it gets a little hairy for the car. The base price, the absolute base model, no options, in 2003 was $75,000, which in 2024 is about $128,000 for the absolute bottom base level. Right.
But you got the same engine that they put in every other like small Cadillac sedan.
Yeah. So it did not have the LS engine. It had the Northstar V8. But it was based off the Chevy Corvette. They wanted a more premium Cadillac offering. But they put in the Northstar V8 instead of the LS. Now they did have a V version of this car that had a supercharged Northstar engine. So the base model had 320 horsepower. The supercharged version made 443 horsepower, which is healthy. But when you think supercharged, you think, okay, it should have made a lot more power than that.
So wasn't the Northstar engine designed to be mounted transversely, though?
I don't know.
The Northstar engine was designed to be mounted transversely so they could fit it in front-wheel drive cars. And then it started out as like this wonder engine that GM was super proud of, and then over time gained a worse and worse reputation for how it held up.
Dude, I think it's so cool. It doesn't matter.
Oh my gosh, it's really cool.
It is cool. Every time I see one...
on the road, I get so stoked.
Exactly. I see one and I'm like, oh man. Because
Probably
at
some
first I
4x
think it's like a CTS, but it's just so low and so wide. So it actually also did not come with a manual transmission. Another mark against it if you're trying to mark this as a performance-oriented vehicle and not offering a manual.
But it's not. It's a
luxury.
It's a Mercedes-Benz SL fighter.
Yeah, that's true. Despite not having a lot of sales, it did have a bit of an impact. This car and that concept from '99 really set the design language for Cadillac for the next 10 or 15 years.
I mean, even until now.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, the late '90s cars and then this car specifically are what really led the way for like this is what Cadillacs are going to look like for the next couple of generations.
And it was successful because you look at one, you know it's Cadillac without... I mean, the average person could tell a Cadillac is a Cadillac without looking at the badge.
It was seen as a slower and much more expensive Corvette. Because ultimately, if you're a retired guy and you're looking for a sporty two-seater, you can spend half as much money and get a much faster vehicle. And it's mostly the same car.
The Corvette versus the XLR.
But the XLR is heavier because it has a folding roof.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So who has more divorces? The 50-year-old Corvette owner or the 50-year-old XLR
I'm
owner?
pretty sure you have to be 3 times divorced to even purchase an XLR.
Probably.
I think that's like a checkbox you have to...
I think it only comes with the driver's seat because you're not gonna.
No, you have to have a mistress seat.
That's true. A mystery
Because
seat.
like a Corvette's like a mildly successful orthodontist. Like an XLR is like a dude who like goes to Florida.
No, that's a plastic surgeon, Logan. That's a retired plastic surgeon.
That's exactly what it is. The plastic surgeon.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. It's a Corvette with plastic surgery.
So yeah, that's the XLR. All right, Jordan. Tell us about this beautiful...
You could call it an abomination if you wanted to be kind.
We're looking at a SSR, Logan, if you can't see it.
Yeah.
So I wrote it out in such a way that's like it's a bird, it's a plane. So when I wrote it down, I said, it's a truck, it's a convertible, it's a sports car, it's a luxury cruiser. It's hard to sell. That's what ultimately it's hard to sell. This thing is so stupid. I kind of like it because of how dumb it is. But you could get it optioned all the way up to a 6-liter V8, an LS2 with a Tremec 6-speed manual. Which, I mean, if we put that in the XLR, that'd have been amazing, right?
I love how they decided to go that route with the truck, but not...
Right, and this was sold from 03 to 06, the same period.
Same time.
Absolutely could have done it. But they sold less than 9,000 of them. There was 15,000 of the car that you were talking about. I'm pretty sure the one Logan's going to be talking about, they probably sold like 7, and Logan has half of them. But anyway, at one point they attempted a land speed record with this car.
What?
And it was made using that truck, but it was highly modified. Except when they got there, and this is just so perfect for the life of this truck, when they got there, they had an illegal air dam on it, and even still, it started to get unstable at 200 miles, or approaching 200 miles an hour, which is not close to the land speed record for a truck, I guess. And then they weren't even able to qualify for the class that they were racing in.
Really?
Yeah.
So,
I love them.
You love this thing?
why?
Yeah, they're so cool.
But the amount you like a car is directly proportional to how stupid it is.
Wow.
Shots fired.
You're like, oh my gosh, I love this one. Well, actually, no, because you really like Volvo wagons. So I'm totally on board with you there. But when something's really obscure and nobody wanted it, they're like, that's dumb. Logan's like, I love it.
I'm conflicted because I hate this car. I think it's so ugly. But I'm also so happy that there's no whoever like did lines on their desk before bringing this to like the head of GM and be like, look I'm telling you, this is what the market wants right now. And it made it all the way to production and actually sold.
The concepts look shockingly like this, except the concept had like squared.
Yep.
This is housing crisis GM. So that like everyone was getting their houses on. Nobody cared.
This was like the roaring 20s of the early 2000s.
Right, that's exactly it.
And what blows my mind is the guys involved with this. A couple of them went on to like make some really nice cars. Mm-hmm. But I mean, could you imagine this on your resume? Like you'd have to like scrub that hard.
Like I was on sabbatical.
Yeah, like they put my name on it, but I wasn't really there. Like I was lazy during that period of my career. I didn't show up for anything. But they called it a Retro 2000 pickup, which Retro 2000, that totally fits the look of the truck.
Yeah.
Job done. You hit a target not worth aiming at.
Yeah.
But the folding metal roof is the part where they lost me. Because it weighs so much. If you're going to make a V8 with a 6-speed manual, ungodly heavy, they basically made it fail at everything. And it doesn't even have a truck bed. It has a trunk.
It's not a bed, right?
Yeah. It's not a bed. It's a trunk.
Is it like a bed liner or is it carpeted?
It's carpeted like a trunk.
It's carpeted.
Yeah.
So you can't even really... You wouldn't really use it.
The tonneau cover?
You can't detach the tonneau cover.
That's so wild to me. Like, They're
like, okay, let's make a truck that you can't use as truck things, but we'll make it a convertible. And someone else is like, hey, let's put a luxury interior in it. Like, great, Johnson. Glad to see you're still high. We're going to include that too. And then they're like, okay, well, what do we put it in it? Like, okay, we could do a V6 and sell it on some fuel efficiency. Like, nah. 6-liter LS2, manual transmission.
Transmission's like probably all plastic. Can you imagine you just get like the front fender bent and you're just like the whole thing is wrecked. It's like all one piece.
Yeah, you're right.
I saw one like a few weeks ago and I was just like, that is the dumbest idea ever. Yeah. It's been like bumps your like back quarter panel and that like whole thing shot.
So it's a truck. It looks like a truck, but it's not actually a truck. So speaking of things that look like trucks but aren't actually trucks, do you want to tell us a little bit about your obscure car, Logan?
Alright, this is the Subaru Brat. This is the greatest thing that's ever been created. I have 2 children.
My point is
I have 2 children, and I would trade both of them for the Subaru Brat.
It's a good thing your wife's second language is English. Can she understand what you're saying right now, that you would trade your kids?
So tell us about it.
Yeah, she's upstairs. Alright. So Subaru Brat. Alright, so first of all, it's an acronym. Buy, Drive, Recreational, All-Terrain Transporter. Brat. So a little bit of history. So back in the 60s, the United States was in a trade war with the European Union, or with Europe in general. So they instituted this thing called chicken tax. Right? The chicken tax was basically that the United States could export chickens very, very, very cheaply. We could raise chickens much more cheaply in America than they could in Europe. And so they started imposing tariffs on us, so we started imposing tariffs on them. So we imposed tariffs on things like brandy and potato starch. And one of the things we imposed tariffs on were light trucks that were valued at over $1,000 USD. There's 25% tax. So anything manufactured outside the United States couldn't be shipped in the United States without 25% tax. Subaru was like, oh my sake, and decides they're gonna send us a truck, and it's a very unique time in the 70s and the early 80s, because the chicken taxes, not only was it around, it's actually still around today. And so what's interesting about, you guys are talking about the Tundra and the Tacoma not being sold in Japan.
They have the Helix.
The Hilux.
Yeah, the Hilux. Yeah.
They drive the Hilux, but that's not because the trucks are too big, because they also have the Land Cruiser over there, and the Land Cruiser is huge. Another reason is because Tacomas and Tundras are manufactured in the U.S. They're light trucks. And so if you look at any imported truck that's like under a certain threshold of weight, it's almost guaranteed to be manufactured in the United States because they don't want to have to contend with the chicken tax. That's why there's a lot of cool and interesting trucks that are sold abroad that don't come here. Ergo, you can look at the GM-based Holden vehicles, the Utes, that are very popular in Australia and came to the U.S. because they'd be beholden to the chicken tax.
I would kill for a Ute.
Subaru does. Subaru's like, all right, here's what we're gonna do. There's this weird tariff in the United States, but also it's the 70s, so they're pretty loosey-goosey with like passenger safety. So we're just gonna bolt some seats to the bed, glue carpet under them, and put some grab handles and seat belts that literally attach to like nothing. And now it's a sedan, and the U.S. is like, looks like a sedan to me. And yeah, so they all came with these seats. A couple notable owners. One of them was Ronald Reagan. He owned one, and he drove around his ranch in California for years. He owned it till like 1993, and then he sold it. And it's actually been restored and returned to the ranch, which is very interesting. Yeah. So
now you like the brat all of a sudden.
No, look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
No, Ronald Reagan can have poor taste too. It's fine.
If it was good enough for Ronald Reagan, it's good enough for you. At the end of the day, he's a dirty Californian anyway.
Yeah, one of them.
But yeah, so outside of that, everybody I talked to about this vehicle, like especially people who are a little bit older than me, they're like, oh my gosh, this was so fun, the brat. We used to drive these around all over, get in the back seats, like, it's just such a cool vehicle. It had a 4-cylinder engine, it had all-wheel drive, all sorts of aftermarket parts. Very, very cool. So one little note about the chicken tax, though, is it actually applies to American manufacturers that build their cars abroad. So, for example, the Ford Transit Connect van. So if you've ever seen basically think of like one of those small Ford fleet vans, like the all-white ones. Those are called Transit Connect vans. They're actually manufactured in Churchill. But what Ford does is Ford basically bolts a couple of seats into the cargo area, and then ships them to the United States, and then takes them out and throws them away at the dealership, and then sells them. Yeah, that's it, the Subaru Brat. So there's an obscure car. It lives on, kind of, in the Subaru Baja, but I know this would make no financial sense, and I probably couldn't afford one, but if they did make like a modern Subaru Brat based on like the WRX platform, with like a twin turbo STI engine.
They can barely afford to keep the WRX as a WRX.
No, they don't care about the WRX. They make it cute, but it would be cool. So this is a special time in car history.
That is pretty crazy. You did want me to go buy one down in Nogales. Did I tell you this? That he sent me... He
messaged you about a Facebook Marketplace one?
Yeah. And the thing, you could stand on top of the car and see the ground because it was so rusted.
You're not the only person that's gotten a message like that.
Yeah. Next segment, hot takes. So this is a opinion you feel strongly about that may or may not be controversial. So I'll go ahead and start. My first hot take. Minivans are the best cars ever made. And I will take no further questions.
No, you won't answer the question of what is "and car." What does best mean? What does car mean?
Like I said, I'm not taking any questions. That's just a fact. We'll move on to my next hot take.
Car, you said vehicle.
Yeah, vehicle.
I know.
Unilaterally.
But transportation centered, fun centered.
Doesn't matter. Submarine, airplane, minivan.
The International Space Station has a lot more.
It has nothing on this. Does the International Space Station have stow and go?
Nope.
I think they had to stow it.
Nope.
Like I said, no questions. Moving on.
It was sent up in pieces and then assembled in orbit.
All right. I'll elaborate a little bit. It is as if they got a bunch of people in a room that have a very similar lifestyle, people in their life that depend on them for transportation. They got to move stuff. It needs to have decent gas mileage. It needs to have a lot of convenience, quality of life features that almost any other car doesn't have. They got all those people in a room, and they made a perfect car for that situation.
Okay, I will say that minivans as a segment, for the most part, have not lost focus. By that I mean there are sports cars where the people who made them have lost focus, and they've gotten to be too heavy. Or there's pickup trucks that have turned into Cadillac interiors. They've lost focus. It's not as good of a truck if you're adding a bunch of stuff that's not truck related.
Right.
Minivans are focused, very focused.
They know what they are.
And everything in it is designed to make living with kids and a family easier.
I could argue a completely different kind of vehicle meets that same rubric. So what you're saying is
Enough about the brat.
no, it's a different car. But the type of person who drives a minivan, there are tons of really well thought out features that are exactly fitting for that person. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. The Lamborghini Countach.
Oh my gosh.
The mirror. So the mirror on like the sun visor is detachable. You can take it out. You can hold it in your hand.
Yeah.
I would say that feature
Is tailored to the person who's going to buy a Countach.
Does it have a little tray so you can do like... In all seriousness, people need to just get over the stipulation of a minivan and just get one. And your immediate baseline level of happiness anytime you have to go anywhere quality of life will immediately just be at a new baseline.
The kids can just climb between the seats and get into the third. Like, there's so many
One
ways.
latch, the seats tumble into the ground, and you have as more space than any freaking Tahoe or whatever.
We moved out of our last house entirely with a minivan.
We moved our entire house with that
That's the
minivan.
moving truck.
You could put 8-foot tables in that minivan.
I will say I'd rather have the Pacifica or the Grand Caravan than the Sedona. The Pacifica specifically, I like the look of it much better. I mean, that's not a bad looking minivan.
Second hot take.
You should start going.
What?
I'm looking at the picture already.
Second hot take. Tesla haters are just as obnoxious as Tesla fanboys. They are equal levels of annoying. People who indiscriminately think Teslas are the greatest thing ever made, and people who just indiscriminately hate Teslas for no reason other than it's a Tesla or Elon Musk or whatever, they're both equally annoying. That's my hot take.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I have no notes. That's a good take.
That's a good take. Not that hot? Do you think that's going to offend anyone?
I think it will offend both Tesla haters and Tesla fanboys, but I don't think that it offends me because I own neither.
No, as someone who owns a Tesla but is somehow not a Tesla fanboy, because we'll get to it, but one of my hot takes is on this as well. So anyway, I couldn't agree more.
All right, next hot take. The new M2 is the best looking M2.
Okay.
It's a beautiful car.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have been joined by Stevie Wonder.
It's beautiful.
Sorry.
It's
Ray
gorgeous.
Charles.
I'm not like a huge BMW guy. I think it's a fantastic looking
But
car.
look at its little piggy nose. It just doesn't. It looks
You're
like
used to the new BMWs where each of those you can fit an entire like toddler inside of. Each of those like kidney grill inserts.
there's something about it that looks so like swine.
Yeah, but that's all BMW is. It's all of them.
It's just so hard to look at.
I like don't understand. It's like Ben Wyatt, but the reverse, where everyone is just losing their crap about Sebastian the horse, and he's just like, I don't get it. But the reverse, everyone hates the look of this car, and I'm like, I don't get. Like, this is a good-looking car.
Does this car come with a manual transmission?
It does.
Yes, you can get it, but
You should buy one because it's going to be worth twice what it's worth now in 10 years.
no. You should buy the M2 competition. The M2 competition of the previous generation.
No, you should buy this one because it looks way better.
It weighs hundreds
Okay.
of pounds less.
This one is. Speaking of pigs, this one is a bit of a pig.
So heavy. It's heavier than the 4-door M3 of the last generation. Yeah. Do you know why BMW has? Why I think BMW has lost their way in performance cars?
Why?
Because Hyundai and Kia actually poached the guy in charge of the M division, and they now have him, which is why all of the N vehicles, which N comes after M. He came from the M division and went to Hyundai and Kia's N division. That's why all of those cars handle amazingly well. And now all of these enthusiast drivers are gravitating toward Hyundai and Kia. Like the Stinger was his baby.
I should build a car company and start an O division.
That's exactly it. You can have some kind of advertising around O sounds.
Jordan, what's your hot take?
These two here, the Mustang and the Camaro, are not muscle cars. They're sports cars.
What is the difference?
It's a fine line, but a muscle car can't turn.
Like definitionally, or it's not supposed to?
A muscle car is not interested in a curve.
Okay.
Okay? A sports car is not only interested, but you would say focused on curves. Also, if you look at it from a distance, if you ask any person on the street and you go like, hey, that car down the street, is that a sports car or is that a muscle car? I would say the vast majority would call these two sports cars, and especially if you put it up next to a Challenger. I think the Challenger is the last muscle car because it's never met a corner it couldn't crash on. So check. And if you look at the thing, you know that that's a muscle car. And you would have to make an argument that like maybe these cars have some attributes that you could call a muscle car, but underneath they're just not.
Okay, so 2-door, rear-wheel drive, naturally aspirated 5-liter V8 with a manual transmission. It's a muscle car. The Mach-E is not a muscle car, but the Mustang is.
Mustang and Camaro are not muscle cars anymore. I'm going to die on that hill.
Your next hot take.
Upgrading and putting a bunch of money into a crap vehicle is not worth your time. You should save that money and get a better car.
That's Chrysler's entire market strategy. Explain the Hellcat.
No, I understand what you're saying. I'm saying like people that are going to go, they're doing the AutoZone special and just slapping on anything rather than saving their money and buying a car that can actually perform the way they want. They're spending their money on like better brakes for this sack of crap. They're buying better brakes or they're upgrading the coilovers on their like Chevy Cobalt. Like, no, just save your money and buy a car that isn't a sack of crap.
Bad take. 4-man builds are awesome.
4-man builds.
Let me see if I'm getting this right. You're saying don't buy a $5,000 car and do $20,000 in upgrades. Buy a $20,000 car and do $5,000 in upgrades.
Yes, you're going to have a much better time doing it that way.
It's not about having a faster car. It's about the friends you made along the way.
Yeah. No,
It's about learning how to install a turbo and then inevitably breaking your engine. That's what it's all about.
That's truly it. It really is the friends you made along the way in the junkyard pulling parts off of a car that you think might work.
So it is worth it. It's 100% worth it.
It's not. It's a waste of money.
Here's the thing. If you buy a $20,000 car, theoretically you have $20,000 or a credit score above 590, which nobody has. It's impossible.
What?
It's not impossible to have a bad credit score, to have a good credit score.
No, it's impossible.
It's literally the easiest possible thing.
You know what's funny?
If you have a $5,000 car and you put $10,000 in upgrades in it, that's because what you were doing is putting $80 in upgrades on it and $20 in scratch offs every week. And then,
It's an investment.
you know what I mean?
No, it's not. It's the opposite of an investment.
It's good financial advice.
May as well be blending your money.
Inevitably, you will get featured on JDM magazine with your naturally aspirated Mark III Supra.
There you go.
Is that the pinnacle of human experience?
Next hot take, Logan, Jordan.
Not to remind me on this one. Oh, yeah. Autopilot is a terrible name, and Tesla should stop using it. They might actually see litigation.
Good take. Good take.
Yeah, thank you for deeming us worthy, Logan. All my takes are good takes.
I deem the good take.
The reason it's bad is because people who aren't willing to fully understand their car are going to believe the name Autopilot. But do you know what Autopilot actually is? It's lane keep assist and radar guided cruise control.
But like every car has that.
Every modern car most modern cars can be optioned with this. But no one else advertises it as Autopilot. Then you can get enhanced Autopilot or full self-driving. Full self-driving absolutely needs to have their name changed because that's not what it does.
Can't you get in your Tesla and tell it to bring you somewhere?
If I get on the highway, I can turn on my autopilot. I have enhanced autopilot on our car. It came with it. I wasn't going to pay the $7,000 for the extra software, and it's an additional $7,000 to go from that to full self-driving.
Tesla's going to add one of those little notification lights, like a blind spot monitor, and then they're going to name it, "We will drive the car for you. Do not touch the steering wheel."
Yeah, exactly. The amount of over-promising and under-delivering on the name Autopilot is amazing.
Because it's not even, if I'm not mistaken, it's not objectively really even the best out there.
Blue Cruise apparently is close.
Super Cruise from GM is what I've heard.
Yeah, but
It's really good.
and then Ford is Blue Cruise.
Mm-hmm.
Blue Cruise is supposed to be almost as good, and Super Cruise is supposed to be even better. But
They don't have the audacity to call it full self-driving, don't touch the steering wheel, why don't you just take a nap?
the car will massage you. Go to sleep, please. Yeah. I think that the name Autopilot is...
Tesla just calls it nap time.
No, I think
Nappy time.
yeah.
It like literally blindfolds you, like lays you back.
It's like bubbles.
Also, do you know what Super Cruise does that makes it better? Is that you don't have to actually touch the steering wheel at all. And the reason is that it has a camera watching your irises, and if your irises leave the road, it notifies you. Like if you look over at the radio, it goes, "Hey."
Look at me!
Or if you're checking your mirrors, it'll go, "Hey, hey."
That's kind of annoying though, isn't it?
Oh, it's absurd. But you don't have to touch the steering wheel.
I
would rather touch the steering wheel. Exactly. I would rather touch. I'm pointing at the speaker like Logan said.
I'd rather do the eye tracking thing, but it give me like a 10-second buffer.
I don't know what the buffer is. It's supposed to be a couple of seconds, but everyone I've seen review it is like, yeah, that's great, and it's also really annoying.
So it's a bad name.
It's a bad name, and they should stop using it.
They should stop using that name. Okay, Logan.
What's your
These pictures.
American truck culture is embarrassing and sad.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't agree more. I deem thee good take.
American truck culture is embarrassing and sad. Why?
Yeah, because it's pathetic. Look, dude, it's so obnoxious. Like, look, all right. Let me pose you a question. You see a dude, he shows up, he's a white dude, he uses the N-word, he sags his pants, he vapes. What car does he drive?
Honda Genesis.
Probably drives a Ram or a
Prius.
Chevy.
No. He drives a WRX. Some other guy shows up in a grunt-style t-shirt with Oakleys on, and he's balding, so he wears a ball cap, and he talks about how he would have joined the military, but he would have punched the drill instructor in the face.
He drives a pickup truck.
Right? He drives a Chevy Silver. I saw one of them today. No, it's embarrassing. It's sad. Like, if you need a truck, like other countries have this figured out. They have real work trucks. Like Japan has the K truck, right? And K trucks are sick. K trucks have 6-foot beds. They are utilitarian. They do exactly what you need them to do. They're treated like the
Utility
appliance
vehicles
that they are.
Mhm.
Exactly. They're like an appliance. They're like your dishwasher. They're consistent. They're reliable.
I have an 07 Dakota, and that does 90%, 90+% the amount of truck stuff that Dad's 1500 does.
Yeah.
And
So-
it's a smaller truck.
Yeah.
No, it's an ego stroking machine, not an actual.
And they're so expensive. They are, even a 1500 truck, which is the size of a heavy duty truck from 20 years ago. These are AI generated images, but what I found particularly telling is that even AI knows that no one actually tows anything with their trucks. Look at this picture. Not a single one of those trucks has anything in the bed or a trailer behind it. So like even Bing is like, oh, you want, okay, well obviously they're not towing anything.
What was the prompt?
I just said like big dumb American trucks on a freeway. Like,
Big dump trucks.
All right, so that's that take.
all right, next take.
We talked about this one quite a bit. Financing a vehicle is a stupid decision for most people.
But most people finance a vehicle, so most people are wrong.
Finance a vehicle because most truck owners see Exhibit A, see the first picture, right? Most people are dumb.
Most people are dumb. Confirm. That's a cold take. That's not even a hot take. That's like a, of course.
That's Sub-Zero take. So bottom tier is, all right, I'm gonna finance a vehicle, or sorry, I'm gonna buy an expensive new vehicle outright, right? So now I take $50,000, I put it in a new vehicle, that money's locked up into that vehicle depreciates, and I just lose money. Right? So some people go, oh, that's stupid. Why don't I put a down payment on a vehicle? So I put $10,000 down, I take my $40,000 and throw that in the market. I start making money. Well, yeah, you are making some money in the market, but if you're not making as much money as your vehicle is depreciating, you're still coming out in the red at the end of the day. Smartest thing you can do is, if you are one of 90% of people that aren't a car enthusiast and you need your car as just a utility, as just an appliance, you should find a vehicle from a friend or a loved one, Facebook Marketplace, do a little bit of research, try to find a good deal, and like, look, I don't know how to work on cars, right? But I can watch a YouTube video. So if little stuff goes wrong, fix it myself. Big stuff goes wrong, okay, I don't have that much sunk into this vehicle, right? Now I'm not dealing with warranties, I'm not dealing with dealerships, I'm not dealing with a bank, I'm not dealing with a credit union or financing or anything. And also, I own the vehicle. Like, my vehicles, my title for my vehicles are in my drawer right now. Nobody can come take it from me.
Yeah.
If you lose your job, congratulations, you got $40,000 tied up in the market, but now you don't have a car. Financing a vehicle is not like financing a home. A vehicle payment should not be treated with the same level of like appreciation as like a mortgage is.
So you witnessed this firsthand when you first joined the military and you were surrounded by new recruits. They're known for their financial savviness, right?
Dude, it's unbelievable. I had a kid that was making like $700 a paycheck, so that's like first and 15th. So he was like a private first class, and he went out and he bought a brand new 2016 Chevy Impala. And that's the thing, is like there's just like predatory like car dealerships. Like, you drive off a military base and it's like car dealership, tattoo shop, strip club, vape shop, car dealership, tattoo shop, car dealership, payday loans, uniform store, car dealership.
It's your average Saturday.
For like 40 miles in any direction.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. The Dave Ramsey has a saying that if you're middle class and you want to stay that way and not grow and become, maybe upper class, just keep that car payment. It will keep you down.
Your last take, Logan. Why don't you read it to us before I show the picture?
Okay. Chrysler LLC is the Dallas Cowboys of the car community, and their fans are equally annoying.
What's funny is the prompt was just Dodge Charger, and it was just Dallas Cowboys spiking a football on top of a Charger doing a donut in a parking lot.
A Ford
parking lot, I guess.
There's some layers to this. So both Chrysler and Dallas Cowboys have like some heritage, some great vehicles that they made in the past, right? The Dallas Cowboys, they went to the Super Bowl like in somebody's lifetime, not mine, but somebody's, but their fans are like fervent. They're so dedicated. They're so like into their brand, and they're everywhere. And they'll die on the hill that their thing is more special than the other thing. But when you sit in it, it's mostly a dumpster fire. Like the Dodge Challenger, Chrysler LLC fanboys, they're just like, it's got 707 horsepower. It's like, all right, sure, but like try to use that infotainment system. Like, it will give you an aneurysm. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Like, and there's so many other vehicles you can get for that price. Like, you could get a Porsche Boxster, you could get a BMW M2, you could get like 17 Subaru Brats.
Logan only measures things financially in Subaru Brats. He's like, man, I could buy a house, or I could buy 347 Subaru.
You measure them by a Mazda Miata, so don't talk.
That's true.
That's actually when I bought my house, I asked them to put in the closing documents just a diagram of how many Brats.
Yeah.
just the Brats stacked up on top of each other next to it.
You're gonna get a lot of Dodge Chrysler people offended. And look, I love Mopars. I love Mopars. I talked about this in last week's episode.
That's why it's so funny and so true.
I love them.
The comparison's great.
I will go to bat for the Challenger a little bit. There is no car on the road that is more sure of what it is than a Dodge Challenger.
A Dodge Challenger wakes up at 3 a.m. just to shotgun a beer.
Yeah, it is so confident in what it is. Like, the Mustang may be going through a bit of a identity crisis with the Mach-E, Camaro. Trucks are trying to be luxury vehicles. The Dodge Challenger, what you see is what you get.
Now, if you don't like what you get, that's fine, but at least it's honest.
Mm-hmm. It is the most honest vehicle on the road.
Yeah. No, here's what I would say. Guys who drive Challengers, especially V6 Challengers, they date girls who drive Altimas.
Ooh, that was complicated, but I'm fully with you on that. No, guys who drive V6 Challengers spend their girlfriend's tax return on car parts.
No, on DJ equipment.
Won't make it big, honey. No, they stand behind their girl, like with his arms around her.
Yeah, while she pays for everything.
Yeah.
Because his 80% of his paycheck goes toward his Challenger with 32% interest.
Oh, one of my students has an older sister who is engaged to a guy who can't afford groceries, but he does drive a GTR.
So bring it back. This segment is dedicated to car features that used to exist that somehow have lost favor with the American public, or for one reason or another, you can't find them in modern vehicles, and we think they should be brought back. This one's mine. Rear-facing third row, or potentially fourth row seats in the back of station wagons used to be very popular. I don't know why they stopped doing it. Maybe it's for safety. That's a possibility.
Except that the Tesla Model S, there you go.
Jordan told me about this. I didn't know the Model S came with...
Yeah, I had no idea that.
I had no clue.
You can bolt them to the roof.
Yeah,
That's what they should do with the Cybertruck manufactured in Mexico, and then just bolt a couple of those on the bed.
Yeah.
Logan, when did you learn about the rear-facing third row in the Model S?
Just now.
Just now? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you could get them for a couple of years. You could option it with a rear-facing third row.
Why did they stop?
Why did they stop? Because you would have to be either headless or a very small child.
But who's fitting 7 adults in a car? You see that in commercials. In real life, you're not putting 7 adults in a car.
And they're 5-point harness, so you don't actually need a car seat for smaller
I've
kids.
not been on those CPST
They're
websites.
brutal.
They are savage. So I just don't think those are technically as safe.
What's
as, like,
CPST?
Like the certified professional car seat people and
Oh,
stuff.
they.
They're like
Those car seat pages are
The snootiest, most judgiest people you will ever interact with on the internet.
all about the safety for your kids. It's so bad.
And if you don't spend $1,200 on a car seat,
Every phrase is think of the children.
Well, and it has to be rear facing till they're 16. Like, it's just insane. So it's probably not safe enough for them.
and car seats have to get like renewed, design wise. So, but I think it's great. They should bring it back. GMC Sierra and probably the Chevy equivalent, the Silverado, had at the time, and I'm familiar with this, a retractable magnetic light under the hood. So when you're inevitably working on your Chevy, you pop the hood and you can pull the light out. It's on a long cable and it's steel. You can just attach it anywhere and you have a light and it runs off the battery and it's right there. Now it's not great.
it'll do
Is
it.
only helpful if it's pitch black and you're in the middle of nowhere, which did happen to me. It's great. They should implement it better, but in concept, that was awesome, and they just stopped doing that.
I think that's a really cool feature. I didn't know they had one that was retractable.
Yeah, this year had it. The red one.
No, that one's just in place. I replaced the bulb twice on that.
It looked just like that. You pull it out.
No, it had a little wire loom, a metal stainless steel looking metal loom.
It had a windy though.
a windy winder.
A windy lever.
Whatever.
I don't know.
They should bring it back.
I spent a lot of time under the hood of that car.
To extract the flea juice.
The flea
For
juice.
the plumbus.
Next feature I think they should bring back, and this one is close to home for me, hidden center gas fill-ups behind the license plate. It is stupid convenient when I'm pulling up to a gas station in my 72 Cuda, which I do frequently, and I have to stop.
Never driven past one actually.
No, I visit everyone I see. I could park wherever I want because it's in the center and the hose will reach from either side, and it's fantastic.
Another benefit of this is that you're not spilling gas on your paint.
That's true. A downside is if you get in an accident, the gas tank is squished between the rear axle and the car that impacts you. So that might have something to do with why they stopped doing that. But in concept, I love it. I love that I can fill it from either side.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So I've given some thought to this center license plate hidden fuel filler cap. So I don't know if your Cuda's like this, but my Javelin, that like filler pipe actually robbed a little bit of that cargo space, which in those cars didn't really matter because you had tons of space in the trunk. And yes, there's a problem with the fuel tank, but I do think that this could be excellent for EVs.
There are a couple that plug in right in the middle. They're smaller. The Nissan Leaf plugs in right on the nose.
And also, a lot of the charging stations weren't universally considering every vehicle manufacturer to put stuff. So for instance, Ford Lightning doesn't fit at a lot of Tesla like supercharging stations and things like that. So if it was just in the middle, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Different engineers made gas-powered vehicles, and there was not a lot of consensus on where to put the filler, and so it was all over the place, and we had to adjust the way we design our gas stations because gas filler, it's going to be in wherever it's going to be. And we had an opportunity when we moved to a different form of propulsion to like unify all this, and we're right back at like wherever they're just going to be.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's a really good point. That it's just going to be whatever.
Yeah.
And the problem is that they're all pull up. There's very, very few pull through chargers. So anytime you're towing something...
Now, why is that?
I don't know. It probably has something to do with the longer the high voltage lines run, the more you get loss, and the more you have to account for heat. Because the longer the cables are...
I can't imagine being able to fit as many stations if you can't pull through.
Also think about this. With a pull through, like this picture here, you're usually stuck behind somebody, which at a gas station is fine if it's 2 minutes, but an EV charging station, that person will be charging for 45 minutes.
Right, but single ones that are pull through would be great because they've got all these EV pickup trucks. They're constantly saying how much they can tow. You have to stop, find somewhere to leave your trailer to disconnect and go charge.
That's true.
I've never seen a pull through Tesla charger.
Yeah. All right. Hidden headlights, Jordan.
I think they are sweet, mostly when they're off. Because it does not interrupt. You can make the car look like whatever you want and just have a panel go, but the rest of the time it looks like that.
I agree with you if it's well implemented. I will say the best looking car ever made, in my opinion, has flip-up lights, and it's the 68 Dodge Charger. Front bench seats are also a thing that should come back. So front bench seats, in combination with a couple of seats in the back, you could fit 8 people into something the size of a station wagon. You have 3 in the front, 3 in the middle, 2 in the back.
And then potentially rear-facing behind that.
Oh, if you had a third row.
A fourth row.
Well, yeah.
And with that bench seat in the middle of the front, it would make future trips easier because after you get in an accident, you'd be down at least one passenger.
That's true.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, you could fit like half a Catholic family in one of these.
Yeah.
Or like a third of a Mormon one.
Both of you. Exactly the same joke, I swear.
Bench seats are great. The Sierra had them.
My pickup truck seats, my Dakota seats 6. My minivan seats 7.
But we should normalize sedans having 3 seats in the front, especially because everything's electronic now. There's no reason why you can't have.
Especially like the Tesla, absolutely should have an option for a bench seat.
You don't have a drive shaft that has to go through.
No, exactly. There's no like, it's just a center console for storage, and it's crap storage at that. They did a terrible job with that.
Until you slam on the brakes and your kid smashes his head into your iPad and then puts the car in reverse.
And then the kids in the rear-facing seats get to collide with someone. Yeah. All right. This one's yours, Jordan. What are we looking at here? What is this?
Floor-mounted high beam switch.
I'm also familiar with this. The Cuda has this.
This is actually yours.
Dodge Dart too.
Anyway, it's cool because you don't being able to switch them on and off without moving your hands on the steering wheel is pretty cool.
It is cool.
And it's unused space either next to the dead pedal or behind your parking brake. It's great. It's just one less thing you have to have on your stock.
I'll also say it is like the most cathartic, satisfying switch
Oh, it's
ever.
a thunk. Oh yeah.
It's like it's like your leg. If you try to push out with your thumb, you'd have a pretty hard time doing it. But like the weight of your leg doing it, it's just such a satisfying click.
It's a really nice like thunk.
All right, what's that?
Vent windows. Yeah.
Is that a Dodge Dart?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
So what do the vent windows do?
You can flip them around to get some fresh air in the car. They were a laughable excuse for air conditioning at the time, but these on like a little sports car or something would be super cool, because just being able to direct the wind and turning the wind into flow through the car, and you can use them to adjust the buffeting in the car. So if you have the window down, very often cars will like the air will come in and go out in a weirdly rhythmic pattern based on the cabin geometry. But you can actually adjust that with a vent window, and you can get rid of it. And some cars will do it with 2 windows open or 1 window open, or at different speeds it will change, and you can always just move that to stop the buffeting.
The Cuda has a fresh air vent that I can open, and it lets in fresh air, similar to a vent window.
Yeah, but that thing spins like 150 degrees.
So you can angle it in. Right now it's angled out. You could angle it in so the air...
Yeah, so that the rear edge is actually in front of the hinge by the time it's done turning.
Yeah.
And it actually will divert air into the car.
That's cool.
I mean, it's terrible for drag and whatever other aerodynamics and stuff, but I think they're really cool.
All right, and what's this?
Fully mechanical handbrake. These electric handbrakes,
They're the worst.
they're ruining things. And I constantly forget them on, and it goes, It's like Jurassic Park. What's his name?
Yeah. I don't even like the foot ones, but they're a little bit better than the electronic ones.
Mechanical handbrake that's attached to a cable, and there's no electronics to go like, I mean, you wanted the parking brake, but I'm good. It's a cable, and you pull on the cable, and the cable pulls on the brake.
Yep. Very cheap to fix.
Easy to figure out any problem areas.
You're missing a very important element to the mechanical handbrake.
I know what you're going to say. It's a mating tool.
It is a mating tool because you can do sick-ass handbrake turns and attract women.
Is that true?
When they look at you with complete bewilderment, you know you've made it.
Kira?
What?
Is that true?
I wasn't listening. What did you say?
Not even people on this podcast are listening to this podcast.
Look, when I show up in my absolutely clapped base Ford Focus with ST badges, and I do a handbrake turn in a Chick-fil-A parking lot, all the women are in heat.
Is that true?
Oh yeah.
A really sweet handbrake turn.
Oh yeah.
Going into a parking lot, parking
Oh, yeah.
space completely sideways.
Picture the
Just as cool as driving a GMC Sierra into a ditch and spending the rest of the night pulling
Don't
rocks
laugh.
out of the
Because
grill.
it's drive-
I agree. Electronic... Okay, if the button to turn on the high beams is satisfying, the electronic parking brakes are the antithesis of that.
Yeah.
They are spongy, gross.
No
You like
compliment.
pull them, and then you hear the as it connects. And some of them, it's not really intuitive
Which way you-
turns it
yeah.
on, which way turns it
And,
off.
and there's no standardization on that either.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly...
Huh?
They're so hard to find.
Yeah, they're the worst. I agree. This worked great. This never failed. The
Right.
mechanical part, like
They never wore out.
I had it wear out on 2 vehicles.
you had yours wear out.
Yeah, both of them. I had a 88 Isuzu Trooper, and I snapped the parking brake cable on that, and I had a 78 Javelin, and I snapped the parking brake cable on
When I bought my Cuda, the parking
What's your
brake
problem?
cable was snapped.
that. Okay, so
Diesel sedans. You can go get yourself a 2015 Passat right now with a diesel engine and get 50 miles to the gallon, and
It's like Prius.
you can pick those up for like 12 to 14 grand.
Is diesel cheaper than gas right now?
They're within a small enough percentage that the fuel mileage is a huge savings. When I was driving my Volkswagen Sport Wagon, the Golf Sport Wagon, it was a 2015. It was the last year is when they got caught. I was getting 50 to 53 on my commute average fuel economy, and then this was like 8 months before Biden took office. The Costco next to my work was selling diesel at $1.69 a gallon.
That's like almost Tesla levels of like.
I did the math.
Yeah.
I was spending 3.5 cents a mile on fuel. And the Tesla is 2.5 cents a mile.
Yeah, it's like approaching electric vehicle efficiency for the cost.
For that
Or
cost, yeah.
reliability.
Yeah. So the long and the short of it is, I would get over 600 miles of range on $19.
Yeah, depending where you live and how expensive electricity is, that might actually be cheaper.
Yeah,
This is
and
your
then
grid is-
within like a week of Biden coming into office, it was like $3.50.
What's that?
That is a hand burning implement in Arizona. I bought a steel black shifter ball for my Dodge Dart,
Of course you do.
and in the Arizona sun, it approached the heat of the hottest thing ever created by humanity. And then I actually kept an oven mitt in my car to shift.
Do you have a brand of the shift pattern of a dart on your
So you
palm?
never forget. It's like,
Never forget. Like a reverse numbers on your hand.
It was a really poor choice.
So it's a manual transmission, though. Why should they bring it back? Manual transmissions. They're slower. They're
more
less
engaging.
efficient.
They're just more engaging. And I will say that a good automatic is better than a bad manual.
Okay.
But a bad manual is a good manual is way better than any automatic to drive. A quick, responsive, like that same Volkswagen had a DSG, a double clutch gearbox. And that was fun. That was a fun transmission because it was like instant shifts. I'd still have a manual over it. I'd still rather have the manual. But anyway, I think manual transmissions, no enthusiast is going to disagree with that, though. It's not like it's a hot take.
Yeah.
What is going on with this Subaru? Why is its hood sticking so high in the air? What should they bring back?
90-degree hoods. A lot of vehicles, previously they had hoods with 2 seating positions. So there's a seating position at like 45, 50 degrees. And then you can like flip a little gear on the hinge, and then you can raise it up to 90 degrees. It just gives you so much more room. Combine this with your retractable light, and now we're really cooking with oil.
What are all these mechanical controls, and why aren't they on a screen?
Yeah. Look, physical climate controls, this is not new. Bring it back.
I agree.
Jordan's Tesla's iPad is the antithesis to all that is holy and good in the universe.
All I really do is, it's always set to automatic. All I do is push the temperature I want it to be, like 1 or 2 degrees down or up, and everything's fine.
What if you want to change where the vents are blowing?
You touch the temperature number.
It's already too many steps.
Too many steps. Too many steps.
You touch the temperature number, and then you drag on the screen where the air is flowing. And where it's showing it's flowing on the screen, like let's say it's showing that it's flowing directly forward straight at the driver, but that could easily be like way up off into the corner. So you actually have to wait. You have to move your finger, wait for it to catch up, and then wait for where the air goes to, and then go, okay, well that was wrong, and move it somewhere else until it finally blows on you.
doesn't that screen get hot in the summer too?
And
Yeah.
if this is a GM vehicle and you're trying to use Super Cruise, that whole time it's yelling at you to put your eyes back on the road.
Yeah.
Look at the road.
So that's right on that next one. Oh, the Ute. Bring back the Ute.
Bring back the Ute. I couldn't
The
agree
Ute
more.
is sick. The Dodge Rampage, the Ford Ranchero, the El Camino, the Subaru Brat.
He's gonna throw it in.
Hey, it's not a Ute. It's not a truck. It's a sedan.
It is a sedan. You're right. You're right. How dare I? Yeah, you gotta bring back the Ute. It's utility. It's sex appeal. It's everything you could ever want.
Are you? I was gonna say, are you allowed to drive this if you don't have a mullet?
Don't think you are. It is
The car itself has a mullet.
Yeah.
So no, there's kind of an and or thing. So you can drive that without a mullet, but you do have to be married to your cousin.
If you get in without one, you get out with a mullet.
No, it's got a front bench seat, and you're smoking Cowboy Killers in the front seat, and so is your pregnant wife, and then you got a little kid with a mullet in the middle seat.
And he's doing the shifting.
And you got a barbed wire tattoo across your arm, but not on the inside because ouchie.
It's America. That's what it is. That's all it is.
I couldn't agree more. I used to be iffy on these, but man, I wish so bad they brought the Holden Ute here.
I would love an SS, a Holden, the Chevy version with a V8, supercharged V8. You can get them with supercharged V8.
When I see someone driving like an El Camino out in public, it gives me the same sort of pause as when I see someone like wearing like a MAGA hat. I'm like, whoa, that dude doesn't give a fuck. Like, that dude does not care. Fewer driver assistance features. Okay. Or, caveat to this, the ability to at least turn them off. I don't want my car telling me what to do. I don't want it telling me what to do. I don't want it telling me to put my eyes back on the road. I don't want it telling me when to shift. I don't want it telling me anything. I want to drive the car incorrectly and unsafely.
I don't want it to beep at me when I'm heading off a cliff. I don't
don't want it to beep at me when my seatbelt's unbuckled. I don't want it to do any of those things. I want it to be a car.
I'm going to push back a little bit. What about the automatic braking feature in the case of like a pedestrian?
Waste of time.
Waste of time. Okay. So even though the car can react sooner than you, and you might actually save a child's life, and it doesn't affect you at any other time the entire time you have the car. The only time it steps in is when it can save a life.
Yeah. The car doesn't get to play God. Only I do.
No airbags, no seatbelts. If I want to fly through my windshield, it is my God-given right.
All right, last one. So speaking of a complete negligence for safety, fun adventure vans, Westphalia vans. They're rad.
I mean, there are adventure vans now, the Mercedes and the Sprinter.
Yeah, so affordable adventure vans. Yeah. And so that's why I was saying I was stoked for the Kia Carnival, because those are going to reach kind of the bottom of their depreciation curve in like 10 or 15 years. They'll be going for like $8 or $9 grand. You could pick one up and you could adventure conversion that. And it's going to be awesome. You know, really stoked for those. And then, you know, even these Westphalia vans, the original VW wagon, they've all been bought by like Silicon Valley hipsters that are like literal communists. And they're forgetting what it's about. What they're doing is they think driving a VW bus is about, you know, Instagram and aesthetics and looking cool for your friends. That's not what it's about. You buy a VW bus, absolutely class. You meet a hippie girl in Joshua Tree, and you take like 10 grams of mushrooms and you go on like a fucking vision quest. That's what it's about. So I think they're all missing the point. So I can't wait for like there to be a new culture around that.
I can see it. All right, we're going into our speed rounds. We got our timer ready. You're going to rank these 5 vehicles without knowing what comes next. And they're all part of the same category. 90s tuner icons. Lancer Evo.
That's an Evo 7. I'm going to call that 2.
2. Toyota Supra Mark IV.
I know everyone loves it, and that engine's so tunable. That may be 1, but there's probably something I'm not thinking of. I'll do 1 on that one.
1, okay. RX-7.
RX-7, there's so much potential there if you're a real mechanic. If you're not, you're going to have a bad time with a rotary engine. So I'm going to call that a 4.
Okay. R34.
Oh, that should have been number 1. Got to go 3 now.
Okay. And WRX.
I'm comfortable with a 5 on the gold rims. I've never liked the gold rims, and even though, yes, there's way more to that car than gold rims, but I can't get over it.
What do you think, Logan? How did he do?
No. I think he did fine, except he was incorrect on the WRX because that WRX is the 22B. You look at the body kit, the 2 doors, the pink badge. That's a 22B. That's like a $300,000 WRX.
That's the one you want.
Icon.
You're going to rank these 5 cars without knowing what comes next. Category is classic muscle cars. Chevy Camaro.
So that's like a 69, right? It's got the 69. Got the gills. Yeah. 69 Camaro. I'm going to put that 4 because it's not a 67. The 67 would be higher.
70 Cuda.
Ooh, yellow is disgusting.
Shut up. Shut up.
Is it like is it a 440?
It's a 440.
Number 1.
Wow. All right. Mustang GT. Fastback.
Is that that's the Eleanor?
It's not Eleanor.
That's not it. Okay. Yeah. 5.
5? Okay. 68 Charger. RT. The 440.
2.
All right. And Chevy Chevelle. SS.
3 left, right?
All right.
You happy with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Good with that? You want to change anything?
Yeah, it's all good. There are two in there that are pretty much in a league of their own for me.
Rank these 5 cars without knowing what comes next. Sleeper super sedans.
Okay, here we go.
All right. Ford Taurus Show.
SHO. They really were trying to compete with that Charger, but they didn't give it enough horsepower to do it.
For how it looks, it's shockingly quick.
Yeah, I mean, do you know it's on an Explorer platform? It's crazy. I'm going to call that a 4.
4? Okay. Chevy SS.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. said this is one of the best handling sedans he's ever been in. I'm going to call it a 2.
2? Okay.
5. Too expensive to repair.
What is that, an RS5?
It's a S6.
1, -1.
Yeah.
That's the V60R.
Right.
V60R, number 1. Okay. And a Chrysler 300C.
2, just for cool factor alone.
That's the hood Rolls-Royce right there.
It is the hood Rolls-Royce.
That's it. That's 5.
Oh, okay.
What did I give the 3? I gave 2 twice.
You might have. Well. All right, Logan, this one's to you. Would you rather own your dream car but never drive it, or never own your dream car?
Can someone else drive me in my dream car?
Sure.
Option 1. Own my dream car but never drive it.
I agree. Option 1.
I'm just going to be rolling in those jump seats in the Subaru Brat.
I love how every category he finds a way to worm it back.
No, actually, sorry. My dream car is some Bentley, and I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to buy it for you.
Would you rather own a Ferrari 458 Italia with the engine from a Honda Civic Type R, or own a Honda Civic Type R with the engine from a Ferrari 458 Italia?
I'm going to say 458 Italia, and then
You can't swap the engine. You got to take it as it is.
I'd probably do the 458 Italia. It's just a thing to look at that point anyway.
Yeah.
Wait. Could you imagine the glass on the back of the 458 Italia, and you look in, and it's a Civic engine?
I'd love that you'd have to frost the glass on your engine cover to keep anyone from seeing it. I'd let you do that. So you would get the Ferrari with a Honda engine over a Honda with a Ferrari engine. I would go the other way. I feel like a Civic Type R with a Ferrari engine would be stupid fun.
So what you're saying is, would you like to have something that looks like a Ferrari and is as reliable as a Honda? Yes, I would.
Would you like something that looks like a Honda but is expensive to repair as a Ferrari?
No.
Would you rather abolish speed limits on all U.S. freeways or abolish the mandatory dealership sales model?
I use freeways, so dealership sales model. Or is it just abolished for me? Can I drive as fast as I want?
No, just in general. You go more European style. You could drive as fast as you want.
And abolish the mandatory dealership sales model.
Absolutely. I would do that 1,000 times over.
That's what you would do too?
I would do that too, because the speed limits on freeways, I'm cool with speed limits on freeways. I don't need to get anywhere. The amount of time I would save going 100 instead of going 80 or 65.
Negligible compared to how much range you lose with your car.
Well, that, but just the safety. Yeah, I wouldn't want anyone going any faster than they're going already with a complete abysmal level of driver training in this country. People are one half step removed from driving around with paper bags on their heads.
All right, this segment's called Guess the Logo. So these are classic car logos that car companies you know of have used in the past. So guess the logo, number 1. What is that?
That's Cadillac.
Very good.
Dodge.
Nope.
Close.
Plymouth. Chrysler.
Very good.
Um,
They used to make airplane engines.
Saab?
No.
This is an American company?
Nope.
Volvo.
Nope.
Rolls-Royce.
BMW.
BMW?
BMW. Yeah. The Universal Car was their tagline when they used this. Blue.
Oh, Ford.
Yep. Clip art looking logo.
Ford Lincoln.
No, actually, but the founder's initials are in there.
Is it? Oh, no, it's the triangle. It's Chrysler.
It's not. It's Italian, and his 2 initials are right there.
Riccio Lamborghini.
Exactly.
Nice.
All right, this segment's called Guess the Logo.
Whew.
Illuminati Motors.
I want this to get monetized, Logan.
I don't know what Israeli cars.
It's American. That was the Dodge Brothers logo.
Oh, I remember that now.
The name goes right up there in the black section.
Yeah, I've seen this before.
4 letters.
4 letters?
Mm-hmm. Mini.
Oh, yeah. Oldsmobile.
No, I thought for sure you'd get this.
Plymouth. Oh, yeah. Duh.
Yeah.
Dude, they landed at Plymouth Rock, bro. Come on.
This one's super obscure. They make your dream car.
Mazda.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Mazda logo?
They used to have one that was modeled after Hiroshima's city logo. In the late 30s, they picked that one.
Indian motorcycles.
No. Think of the shape behind it, though.
Oh, Pontiac?
Yep, exactly. You did pretty good. So spot the fake. I'm going to give you 5 car names, and you have to tell me which one I made up. Mitsubishi Minica Lettuce, Studebaker Dictator, Mazda Titan Dump, Nissan Moco Fat E, or Isuzu Mysterious Utility Wizard.
Wait, how many of these are made up?
1.
These are all made up.
The Mitsubishi Minica is an actual car.
Yes.
It literally means mini car, Minica. The only one that doesn't sound real to me is Studebaker Dictator, because I would think like Studebaker is like an American brand, Dictator would be like...
I'm almost positive that's a real car.
I like your line of thinking, but that is a real vehicle. So the correct answer was Nissan Moco Fat E. Well, there was a Nissan Moco, but I added the Fat E on there. The rest of those, including the Titan...
Isuzu Mysterious Utility
That is a real car.
Your Mysterious Utility Wizard sounds like the guy who sells you your drugs.
Spot the fake. 4 of these car names are real, 1 is fake.
Okay.
Daihatsu Naked, Suzuki Mighty Man,
Nice.
Honda Life Dunk, Nissan Friend Me, or Mazda Bongo Brownie Van. Which one is made up?
I'm going to go with the Honda Life Dunk is made up.
That one is real.
Can I guess too?
Yes, go ahead.
Suzuki Mighty Man is not real, but it's a play on the name Suzuki Mighty Boy.
You are exactly right.
It's a tiny little truck.
He's got the advantage of having lived in Japan.
4 of these car names are real, 1 is fake. Try to guess which one I made up. The Suzuki Scram Joy Pop Turbo, Volkswagen Thing, Gaylord Gladiator, Mazda Carol Me Lady, or Nissan Prairie Joy.
I think this one's a trick question, because I'm pretty sure the Volkswagen Thing is not the actual name of that vehicle.
It's
I
not.
think Thing is a nickname.
Maybe 2 of these are made up then.
Nissan Prairie Joy is not real.
Nissan Prairie Joy is real. The Suzuki Scram Joy Pop Turbo is actually the Suzuki Scrum Joy Pop Turbo.
Wow.
Made this real easy on us. Holy cow.
Okay, so trivia. What were the 10 most stolen cars in the U.S. in 2022?
I'm going to say there's got to be a Challenger and Charger on there.
Okay,
Durango.
Nope.
There's going to be a Kia Sedona, a Kia Sorento.
So far, no.
Kia Stinger.
You haven't gotten any of them. There is a Kia on there.
Jeez, Kia Optima?
Yep, Kia Optima is number 4. 534 stolen per 100,000.
So really none of the Dodge cars are on there?
No,
That's shocking.
amazingly.
Nissan Versa?
No
Nissan
Nissans made the list. I'll say Hyundai, Honda, Toyota, Kia, Ford, GMC, and Chevy.
Hyundai Elantra?
Yep,
Ford F-150?
yep. And keep going on that route.
Chevy Silverado?
Yep.
Ram 1500?
Nope. Somehow Ram wasn't on there. GMC.
GMC Sierra? Okay.
Honda actually had 3 in the top 10.
Civic, Accord,
Yep.
CRV.
Yep.
I think the only one you missed was the Camry and the Sonata.
He said Corolla, so it was close.
Yeah, you were really close. Trivia car, Logan, you might know this. What was the first Japanese car manufactured in the U.S.?
The first Japanese car or car company to be in the U.S.
Not the first car company to arrive in the U.S. The first car manufactured here on U.S. soil.
A Honda Civic or like a Toyota truck of some kind.
Very close. Honda Accord, actually. Honda Accord, first one on sale in 1982, was built in the Marysville Auto Plant in Ohio, and that was actually the second generation Accord. The first gen wasn't built here, but the second gen was.
Do you know what's frustrating at NASCAR? The most American car there is Japanese. The Toyota Camry has more parts made in America, and it's assembled in America.
Well, Dodge Charger is built in Canada, except for the engine, which is built in Mexico.
Yeah.
What are the 10 biggest car brands in the world?
Conglomerations or single brands?
Conglomerations by revenue.
Okay, Toyota's number 1.
Then
Toyota's on there, but not number 1.
Oh, Tesla.
No, Tesla's not on the top 10 in the world.
Toyota.
Volkswagen, Toyota, Stellantis,
Yep.
Renault, Nissan Renault.
Nope, they're not on there.
It's not going to be JLR. Ford,
Yep.
GM,
Yep.
BMW,
Yep.
Mercedes-Benz.
Yep.
You got 3 more.
Audi's not going to be on there.
Nope.
The last three are Asian.
So it's going to be Honda.
Yep.
Duh. Kia. Kia Hyundai.
Hyundai. Mm-hmm.
Okay, but Hyundai owns Kia. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the last one is going to be, it's going to be a company that makes a bunch of utility vehicles like Suzuki.
Close. It's a Chinese company. SAIC Group.
Oh, yeah. I would have known that one.
Yeah. Yeah, you pretty much got them all. Name 10 car brands that have
Oh, this is a
disappeared
good one.
from the U.S. market since '99.
General Motors is going to be like 2/3 of this list. Isuzu, Mitsubishi.
Mitsubishi's still here. And I think Isuzu.
Only industrial trucks.
Oh, I'll count it. It wasn't on my list.
Oldsmobile and Pontiac.
Yep.
Pretty sure Mercury still sells cars.
They don't.
So yeah, Mercury.
Saturn.
Yep.
The original Fisker.
I was going to add that, but they're making that new Fisker Ocean that's going to be sold here.
Different company.
That's a different company.
Oh, okay. Then, yeah, I'll count it then.
Does SRT count?
It was an SRT Viper. It wasn't a Dodge Viper. So, yeah, I'll count that.
Even though it's not here anymore.
Were they sold as of '99? I think they were gone before that. Saab. Yep, Saab is one.
Oh, Hummer.
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 Saturn, Pontiac, Plymouth, Oldsmobile, Mercury, Scion, Saab, Hummer, Suzuki, and Eagle. But you're right. GM, a lot of GM products on that list.
GM is happy.
Name 10 cars that can be bought new in 2024 with a manual transmission.
Honda Civic, Acura Integra, BMW M2, BMW M3, BMW M4, Mazda Miata,
Yep.
Toyota GR86,
Yes.
Toyota GR Corolla, Jeep Wrangler,
No, it's 9.
Bronco.
Yeah, there's actually, by my count, 32.
You got any more off the top of your head, Logan?
CT4, CT5, Blackwing,
Yep.
Yep.
Nissan Z.
Yep.
Did you say Z4? Yeah.
Well, they're adding a manual to the Z4. Yeah. The Mustang, Kia Forte GT, Lotus Emira, Mazda 3 hatchback, Mazda Miata, Mini convertible, Mini hardtop, Nissan Versa comes with the manual, shockingly.
9718 Boxster.
The Porsches come with manuals, Subaru BRZ, Subaru DRX. Lots of Toyotas, GR86, GR Corolla, Tacoma TRD Pro, GR Supra, and then the Volkswagen GTI, Golf R, and Jetta. 10 best-selling cars in the U.S.
So Model Y, Model 3,
Model Y is on there. Model 3 is not on there.
Toyota Corolla,
Corolla's not on there.
Little bigger.
Camry.
Yep, Camry's on there.
Okay, Ford F-150,
Yep,
Chevy Silverado,
Yep.
GMC Sierra.
yep.
There are no Chrysler products on there, I guarantee that right now.
There's 2.
Jeep Wrangler,
Wrangler, no.
Cherokee,
Yep, Grand Cherokee.
Ram 1500,
Yep. There's a couple more Japanese cars.
Honda Accord.
Not the Accord.
Really?
CRV, yeah, or maybe Toyota RAV4 probably.
RAV4 is number 4. Sold 500,000.
Is that all of them?
There's the Nissan Rogue was the only one.
Oh, I want to get that.
But I don't blame you for not thinking about Nissan Rogue because
Who would?
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we'll close it out there.
Yeah, we'll have to try to read some comments and answer some things next week.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.